I would like to talk to you about this painting, which is a little naughty. That's naughty. That's definitely naughty. And when you consider these two are mother and son, you realise it's the most perverted, degraded filth and should be Like a lot of naughty things, this painting makes a lot more sense when you realise it's funny. However, most of the people that come and gaze at the painting don't even get the joke. Paintings are incredible sources of information, story and beauty, and I'm always amazed how much more enjoyable they are when we know a little bit more about what they mean. Bronzino's masterpiece, painted in 1543, hangs at the National Gallery in London. If you're ever in central London, do try and see it. It's titled An Allegory of Venus and Cupid, or rather a Triumph of Venus, or An Allegory of Love and Time. In fact, we have no idea what this painting is actually titled, which is just the start of a number of mysteries about it. Whatever the title, this is not just a weird group portrait. These figures all represent something, which means we have an allegory here. In less academic terms, a joke. But it's a joke that requires a little explaining, so let's start by identifying the two who take up the most important part of the frame, the centre. They are actually the two easiest to identify here, Venus and Cupid. That's Venus, the goddess of love, and we know it's Venus because she's holding a huge big calling card, that golden apple. Remember your Greek myths? Paris of Troy awards Venus the golden apple, choosing love above power and wisdom, leaving Paris to abduct Helen to his hometown of Troy, leading to the Greeks besieging Troy, leading to the wood and the horse and all that malarkey. So we're up to speed. The golden apple means Venus, goddess of love. And that's Cupid, because he's got his wings and his quiver, with one of his arrows being plucked out rather seductively by Venus. Now, Venus and Cupid are usually the cause of rather, dare I say, cheesy portraits, and the excuse to paint female nudes. Just look at how they're represented in other paintings in the same gallery. Take this work by Cranach. Ooh, poor little me cherub, getting stung by bees. Ooh. Or this work by Correggio, which hangs in the same room as the Bronzino, or did at least at the time of writing. Venus and Mercury, mum and dad, with Cupid, their kid. This is a family unit. So once you realise this should be a mother-child relationship, that kiss now looks decidedly dodgy. Look particularly at Venus's tongue, which Bronzino has allowed to loll into the painting, and for anyone under 40s, that's lol, not lol. That tongue feels really transgressive. It has a dreamlike eroticism, but also a strong sense of the wrong. And look at the power relationships in play. They're also odd. Cupid is holding Venus, but he's clearly the smaller figure. So who's in charge here? And the body positions are so awkward. Plus, those eye lines between them are going everywhere. Who is looking at whom? So, this is clearly transgressive. But Bronzino, the painter, was an artist who was drawn to the transgressive. In the same room as the Allegory of Venus and Cupid, again at least at the time of writing, is another work by Bronzino, which, I would argue, is even more transgressive and naughty. Look down here at this very phallic spoon and bowl, placed just so. Don't forget, this is the Virgin Mother's hand caressing that implement. And if you think I'm being too much of a 20th century Freudian, just ask yourself, what's that neatly placed fruit bush blooming just there? As I said earlier, our painting is a joke, and at the probable risk of killing any actual comedy stone dead,
let me explain.
This painting is really a behind-the-scenes what the butler saw through the keyhole version of what the painting should be. This person here is the most important for the drama, and he's really stressed. This is a funny painting, and part of the humour is capturing these expressions so well. He's actually Father Time, probably the third most easy person in the picture to identify, because he's got his wings, and if that wasn't obvious enough, there's an hourglass perched rather awkwardly on his back. Anyhow, to understand this joke, think of this guy as the stage manager of our scene, our painting, or at least the way it should be. However, everything has gone wrong. That canopy at the back, that's the sky, usually eternal at the back of a painting, but it's come loose and revealed the stars of our painting caught in flagrante doing something they shouldn't be doing. And everything else has gone wrong here. This cherub, he's supposed to have thrown those petals so they could be draped around everyone's feet, but he hasn't. And you know why? Because this cherub is an idiot. In allegory terms, he's often called folly, and that's a pretty good guess. Just look at that expression on his face. You could not paint stupidity any better. That dumb tongue pushed against the gap tooth. I'd really recommend seeing this painting in the flesh, as it were, to get a true impression of the pure stupidity oozing from this face. It's funny. And I love the way that tongue mirrors this other one. These are strange, almost dreamlike details to observe. And if you still doubt this cherub is a fool, just check his foot. He's walked over a thorn and doesn't even realise it. The idiot. So, there was a perfect painting supposedly here before everything got messed up. And do I mean messed up? When you look closely at the detail in this picture, everything just seems to get more disturbed. Take this girl over here. She seems nice. She's offering out a bit of sweet honeycomb. But, oh, what large claws you seem to have. And, oh, what a long scaly tail you seem to be sporting. There's a monster here, hiding behind what must be a mask. In fact, you know it's a mask. Look at the girl's hands. They're both on backwards. This image only makes sense if that mask is on the back of something's head, or it's a creature with backward hands. Either way, this is clearly a monster hiding. In allegorical terms, this is an image of what innocent love seems to be, but nastier things lurk behind. We're being offered something sweet, the honeycomb, but there's a sting in the tail, literally. So, how about this figure on the left? We're not exactly sure who she is. I'm not even sure that's a she. This again is a version of what love can be, a nasty version. Remember, this picture is an allegory, which means these figures all represent things. Some have called this person envy or jealousy, others aging, and more recent critics say this is syphilis, a disease which had only just been brought to Europe from the New World by explorers. In Europe, the first large outbreak of syphilis took place in Naples in 1495, just 50 years before this painting was created. Syphilis, the theory goes, was treated with mercury, which made your skin go a funny colour and your teeth fall out. So, whether this is envy or syphilis, I think it'd be correct to label this the result of too much bad love. In fact, when we look at the centre part of the frame, we see the joke, the whole conceit, playing out before us. This is a joke about the effects of time on love, visible through 4 distinct stages. Firstly, the so innocent he's an idiot cherub, where we start. And remember, a child is the result of physical love. Then comes the awakening of sexuality, with our pretty young love, looking innocent, but of course coming with that sting in its tail. Thirdly, we have current love, actual love, represented by these 2 charmers. And finally, the after effects of love, represented by this even more charming figure. We are being shown love taking place through the process of time, and that really is the key allegorical insight into this painting, and really the whole clever joke. Now, I'm starting to get the feeling that the more I explain this joke, the less funny it is. True, but this is a conceptual gag, and it's brilliant.
Let me explain.
Paintings usually reflect a moment outside time, when a painter captures an instant of reality that stays fixed and eternal in that painting forever. Whenever that painting was painted, from that point on, time stands still. Well, that's what paintings usually are, but Bronzino so cleverly shows us a different perspective. What happens when time actually intrudes on a painting? Again, our stage manager over here, Father Time, usually that blue canopy is an eternal drape at the back of paintings, a fixed heaven, the sky, it never changes. But time has come loose here. The canopy, that universal blue at the back of most paintings, it's come loose and everything has gone wrong. Time ultimately wreaks havoc on us all. This, for me, is a painting about the ravishing effects of time on love. Having said which, I'd be careful of making an exact interpretation of everything in this painting, and that's because I think it's actually impossible. Bronzino has deliberately incorporated ambiguity into his painting. Take this figure on the left up here, a figure that's left all critics baffled. Now remember, there aren't accidents in a painting. Everything in the frame is there because the artist decided it should be, so Bronzino has chosen her to be here to represent something. I have a name for her. She represents night, as in night and day. She's part of the time representation in this painting, the diurnal pattern of night and day. And that's why she's helping Father Time hold up this canopy. But hang on, is she trying to hold the canvas up? Or is she causing the problems? Is she some kind of element of discord? Some critics have called her oblivion, others insanity. I called her night day to suit my own theory on the allegory of time. But look closely at her face. It's a two-dimensional cutout, a mask. And isn't that young girl? Yeah, she's wearing a mask too. And looky here, another couple of masks scattered on the floor. It's as if anyone in this painting could just be hiding behind another mask. Bronzino doesn't just want us to doubt love, he wants us to doubt his entire painting. Why, I hear you ask? Would he do that? Well,
let me explain.
Which means you need to use your imagination, or if you don't have your imagination, find a time machine, strap in and go back 500 years. Paintings like this were entertainment for the mega rich. They took a lot of people months to make and cost a fortune. Nowadays, we have little understanding how drab and dull the world looked in the 1500s. These paintings would be way beyond the latest series on Netflix, way beyond a Hollywood blockbuster. We have stories of the emperors of Europe spending time on their own, privately gazing at these magnificent paintings. This painting was commissioned by the ruler of Florence, Cosimo Medici, for one of Europe's most powerful figures, Francis I, King of France. Bronzino wanted to paint a picture that would fascinate the king, and in doing so, he didn't want to give away any quick or easy meaning. So, ambiguity is deliberately scattered across this canvas in a series of jokes and innuendo. I'd really recommend going to see this painting, excuse me once more, in the flesh. If nothing else, to experience that flesh, the whiteness of the flesh tones. There's only the smallest bit of colour allowed in our couple's cheeks. Otherwise, everything is white. It's amazing how Bronzino has made flesh look so cold. It's a brilliant painting, dangerously subversive, and yet everyone can have their own theory about the work. It's deliberately ambiguous. So, for example, Terry Gilliam of Monty Python fame, who loved the painting so much he used the foot as the sign-off foot for Monty Python.
Right from the moment I first saw the painting, my eyes drifted down to that bottom left corner and that little dove, and the foot is about to crush him, it looked like to me. And I love the idea that the foot belonged to Cupid, to love. What a better way to be crushed but by love.
Which makes it a perfect way to sign off this programme. Please like and